So welcome to part 2 in our series on playing over changes, and in the first part that was really just a summary and sort of an overview of what playing over changes means. Now it's really important to go back and have a look at that if you haven't seen that before you tackle what we're looking at today. But as a very brief overview, playing over changes really means playing over chord sequences that have what you might call a chord in them which is the odd one out. So if I was to play this, then the one which is the odd one out is this one. It's an E7. Now we'll come to the reasons of why that might be, but the problem we have is to be thinking about how we might play over that change. Now, as you can gather, there's a few changes going on there, and the biggest mistake you can make with this sort of thing is to try and tackle things head on. I can remember many years ago when I started, I was trying to tackle a tune called Till There Was You, and it had a load of changes. It has and the mistake I made was to try and play over everything to start with. And what I probably should have done was said, well, the first one was F, the next one's F sharp diminished, so just do that. And so I found my way around getting that one change right, and I found, although it wasn't the first thing I did, it was definitely the best thing I did, because then I could move on to the next one. It's a bit like try not to eat your dinner all in one mouthful, just take a few bite-sized chunks. So in this particular video, I'm not going to say we're going to play C, E7th, A minor, C7th, F, G, and all that stuff. I'm going to say let's play C going to E7th. That's all. We just want to know all about that to start with. Okay, now given the fact that this is it's sounding like a more major sound for a C, and we've talked about this before as well. As, you know, depending on how bluesy it is, you can make it more minor, you can make it a mixture of major and minor. So this is on the, let's say, the polite end of a blues. So we've got to get from C to E. Now there's going to be a problem here if we don't think about what we're playing. Let's suppose I do this, and this is a C major pentatonic. Okay, now if someone's doing this, or they're just playing C, that's fine. Okay, but if the chord has just changed to this, it's not going to sound good, is it? Well, not good. Okay, so now what we've got to do is think to ourselves, well, okay, how are we going to accommodate playing from C to E? Now, a lot of people, when you talk to them about playing lead and solos, they tend to think that this is all about single notes. And, well, okay, on one level you could argue it is. But in this particular instance, what we first of all have to think about is the chord shapes. Now, this is what I found to be a very useful way of tackling this. What you have to do is bear in mind when you have a change that comes on, the E7 is there, but it's in the context of the key of C. So broadly speaking, you want to retain as much of that C as you can. And what that leaves us with is the opportunity to pick out what the differences are between those chords. So if you have a look at an E7 chord, it's got E, G sharp, B and D. Now the one I'm interested in really is the G sharp, okay, because that's the thing which takes us out of a C scale. As you'll hear from that, okay. But equally, I don't want to make this hard work for myself. I want to try and make everything as easy as I can. And all right, on one level you want to know it's a G sharp, but on another you just want to be thinking as melodically as you possibly can. One of the best things you can do to achieve that is to make something very easy to see. Now, what I mean by that is, as you're playing, your ear should be trying to, and your brain should be trying to work out where the next note you want is going to be. Otherwise, really all you're doing is just running up and down a scale that you already knew and kind of pretending that you're not. So what you want to be doing is you want to be thinking on your feet the whole time. Now, if you're asking your ear to look at the fretboard, and that sounds a daft thing to say, but anyone who's played guitar knows what that means, okay? You ask your ear to say, right, okay, I want you to know what this sounds like, and I want you to connect it with this. That's very, very difficult to calculate as you're playing, and it will get in the way of you playing anything which is likely to sound very nice or connected. So the way I'm going to look at this is to say, well, let's look at a chord shape which is in that area, something which is geographically very convenient. Okay, now in a C major pentatonic, and I'm going to use this because it's a nice simple example. We don't have to be complicated here, and that arguably is the watchword of all of this. Okay, that's all in C. So is there an E7 chord somewhere in that area which would give us some dropping off points? The answer to that is definitely yes. What about this? Okay, so this is an E7, it's a C shape. I haven't bothered with the bar because we've got an E either side of it, and the rest are all notes we're holding down. Okay, so here's a little diagram of that E7. Okay, now the next diagram is of the C major pentatonic, which you'll see is in pink, and then the E7th chord over the top of that. Now, unfortunately, technology doesn't seem to have progressed to the point, or at least my grasp of it doesn't seem to have progressed to the point where I can show you both colours at once, but I'm sure you get the idea from looking at this graphic of how that E7 fits right in the middle of that C major pentatonic. Okay, so here's a little line which would take account of that. Let's take another example. Let's suppose I was somewhere else in the pentatonic. So there it is. It's in the middle of the chord. Okay, so that's one way you could do it, and that's the initial thing I'd like you to try and do. Just play that C major pentatonic and try and land on one of the notes. When you want that change to happen, land on one of the notes that's in your E7 chord. Okay, so that's it for this particular one. I'll be back in what I think will be part 3 for a little expansion on what we've just looked at there. But anyway, okay, thanks very much for watching, and as ever, if you could hit the subscribe button, that'd be great. Bye for now.